Princess Zalanra of the Zorethian Empire stared at the human female standing before her. The creature was small compared to her own 7-foot frame, yet somehow managed to appear formidable. The human named Kate Mason wore the standard armor of the Earth Defense Force, its dark green plates contrasting sharply with the gleaming silver walls of the royal audience chamber. Zalanra felt her inner eyelids flutter, a sign of nervousness that she desperately tried to control. Her forearms twitched slightly as she adjusted her ceremonial robes. She had never expected to meet a human in person, especially not one who had saved her life. 3 rotation cycles earlier, the princess had been traveling on her personal shuttle when a group of rebels attacked. The rebels hated the peace treaty being negotiated between humans and Zorethians, believing that humans were inferior beings who should be conquered, not allied with. The attack had been swift and brutal, leaving her royal guards dead and her shuttle crippled. Just as the rebels prepared to board and capture her, a small human vessel appeared. The lone human pilot had somehow managed to drive off 3 rebel ships, using tactics that seemed completely illogical and borderline suicidal to Zorethian military doctrine. The human had then docked with her damaged shuttle and personally escorted her to safety. Now that same human stood before her in the palace, a decorated soldier named Kate Mason, who had apparently been patrolling the border zone when she detected the attack. The human was being awarded the highest honor the Zorethian Empire could bestow on a non-Zorethian. The entire royal court watched in silence. The tall, purple-hued Zorethian nobles with their multiple arms and bioluminescent skin markings stared at the human with a mixture of curiosity, disdain, and reluctant respect. None of them had expected a human to show such bravery. Humans were known to be physically weaker than Zorethians, lacking both their natural armor and multiple limbs, yet somehow this particular human had accomplished what an entire squad of royal guards could not. Kate Mason seemed uncomfortable under the scrutiny. Her face remained neutral, but Zalanra noticed the subtle signs of stress in the human posture, slight muscle tension around the shoulders, increased respiratory rate. According to her briefings, humans often displayed such signs when nervous, though they were remarkably adept at controlling their outward expressions. Zalanra rose from her throne, towering over the human soldier. As royal protocol demanded, she would now place the Medal of Valor around the human's neck. But as she approached, something unexpected happened. Her usually perfect composure began to falter. The human looked directly into her eyes. The directness of the gaze was shocking. In Zorethian culture, only equals looked directly at each other, and no one was equal to the princess. Yet the human did not look away, showing neither submission nor challenge, just a calm acknowledgement of her presence. The royal court murmured in shock at this breach of protocol, but Zalanra found herself fascinated rather than offended. She had been trained since hatching to maintain perfect control of her emotions, to never show weakness or uncertainty. Yet now, faced with this small alien being, she felt her royal mask slipping. Kate spoke in carefully practiced Zorethian, her pronunciation surprisingly accurate for a species with only one tongue and no secondary vocal chamber. "Your Highness, I am honored to accept this recognition, though I only did what any soldier would do when seeing someone in danger." The simplicity and honesty of the statement caught Zalanra off guard. Zorethian formal speech was elaborate, filled with references to ancestral deeds and complex honorifics. The directness of human communication was both refreshing and unsettling. Zalanra found herself responding in an equally direct manner, breaking royal protocol. "You saved my life when you had no obligation to do so. You risked yourself for someone not of your kind. That is not something anyone would do. That is something only someone of true courage would do." The royal court gasped at her informal speech. Some of the older nobles looked deeply uncomfortable, their skin patterns flashing in patterns indicating disapproval. But Zalanra did not care. She felt something shifting in her understanding of these humans. For generations, Zorethians had considered themselves superior to other species, especially the relatively new arrivals to the galactic community. The humans were considered primitive, emotional, and unpredictable, Their short lifespans alone made them seem like children to the long-lived Zorethians, yet this human had shown intelligence, bravery, and skill beyond what any Zorethian had expected. And now standing before her, Kate Mason displayed a dignity and presence that many of her own nobles lacked as Zalanra placed the heavy ceremonial medal around the human's neck. Their hands briefly touched. The human skin was warm, softer than Zorethian hide. The princess felt an unexpected jolt of connection, a sense that perhaps humans and Zorethians were not so different after all. After the ceremony, Kate was invited to the diplomatic reception, a rare honor for any non-Zorethian. Zalanra watched as the human navigated the complex social environment with surprising grace. Kate was speaking with Sora Taylor, the human ambassador to the Zorethian Empire. The two humans stood out dramatically among the taller, multi-limbed Zorethians, yet they carried themselves with confidence. Ambassador Taylor, a respected diplomat who had worked tirelessly on the peace treaty, seemed to be explaining something to Kate. The soldier listened intently, occasionally nodding. Though Zalanra could not hear their conversation from across the room, she found herself curious what they were discussing. Breaking protocol once again, Zalanra approached, the humans directly dismissing her attendance with a gesture. Both humans bowed respectfully, though not as deeply as Zorethian custom would demand. Ambassador Taylor was speaking about the significance of today. Your Highness, Kate here doesn't realize that she's just made history. No human has ever received the Medal of Valor from the Zorethian Empire. This will help our peoples move forward together. Kate looked embarrassed. I was just doing my job, Mom. Nothing special. Zalanra found the human's modesty intriguing. In Zorethian culture, accomplishments were celebrated and acknowledged publicly. Downplaying one's achievements was seen as dishonesty. Yet she sensed no deception from the human, only genuine humility. The princess made a decision that would shock the court even further. I would be honored if Soldier Mason would consider becoming a liaison between our military forces. We could benefit greatly from understanding human tactical thinking. Ambassador Taylor looked stunned at this unprecedented offer, her diplomatic training barely concealing her surprise. Such a position had never been offered to a human before. Kate seemed equally surprised but recovered quickly. It would be my honor, Your Highness. Though I should warn you that my superiors might have something to say about it. Zalanra felt her mouthparts twitch in what humans might recognize as a smile. Let me worry about your superiors, Soldier Mason. I can be quite persuasive when necessary. As the reception continued, Zalanra found herself repeatedly drawn to conversations with Kate. The human soldier told stories of Earth, of oceans and forests, so different from the arid landscapes of Zoreth. The princess shared tales of her ancestors and the founding of the empire. By the end of the night, Zalanra realized something had fundamentally changed. She had begun the day believing herself superior to humans, seeing Kate as an exception, a curiosity. She ended it questioning everything she had been taught about humans and perhaps about her own people as well. As Kate prepared to depart, returning to her ship before beginning her new liaison duties, Zalanra felt a strange reluctance to see the human leave. Something about Kate Mason had broken through royal training and species prejudice, touching something genuine within her. The princess, who had struggled to maintain her composure before a human soldier, now found herself looking forward to their next meeting. And for the first time in her very long life, Zalanra wondered if perhaps the future of her people lay not in isolation and superiority, but in connection with these strange, fascinating humans. One rotation cycle. Later, Princess Zalanra paced nervously in her private chambers. Kate Mason was scheduled to arrive today to officially begin her duties as military liaison. The human had spent the past cycle coordinating with Earth Command, securing their approval for this unprecedented position. Zalanra had spoken directly with the human leadership. Using her royal authority to smooth any potential obstacles, Zalanra paused in front of her reflection surface, studying her appearance. She had chosen a less formal attire today, a diplomatic uniform rather than royal regalia. Her reasoning, she told herself, was purely practical. The ceremonial robes would be cumbersome for the planned tour of the military facilities. But deep within, She knew there was another reason she wanted Kate to see her as more than just a distant royal figure. A soft chime indicated someone at her chamber entrance enter. She called, her inner eyelids fluttering involuntarily. Her chief advisor Morax entered and bowed deeply. "Your Highness, the human has arrived. Her vessel has docked at the royal hangar." Zalanra nodded, trying to appear calm and collected. "Excellent, I will meet her there." Morax hesitated, his skin pattern showing concern. "Your Highness, if I may speak freely, the court is concerned about your interest in this human. Some feel it is unbecoming for royalty to associate so closely with a lesser species." Zalanra felt a flash of irritation. "The same lesser species that saved my life when our own forces failed. Remind the court of that fact, Morax, and remind them that I am still their princess. My decisions are not subject to their approval." Morax bowed again, accepting the rebuke. "Your wisdom guides us all. Your Highness, I will escort you to the hangar." The royal hangar was massive, designed to accommodate the large Zorethian ships that served the palace. But today, a small human shuttle occupied a docking bay, looking almost fragile compared to the surrounding Zorethian vessels. Kate Mason stood at attention beside her shuttle. She had exchanged her combat armor for a formal Earth Defense Force uniform. The dark blue fabric with silver trim looked striking against the golden metal of the hangar floor. Several Zorethian guards stood nearby, watching the human with obvious suspicion. When Zalanra entered the hangar, Kate saluted crisply in human military fashion. The princess nodded in acknowledgement, dismissing the formal bow that protocol would normally require. "Welcome back to Zoreth," Liaison Mason Zalanra said, using the human's new official title. "I trust your journey was uneventful." Kate smiled slightly. "Your Highness, it was smooth sailing all the way. Earth Command sends their regards and appreciation for this opportunity. They see it as a significant step forward in our alliance." Zalanra noticed that Kate's Zorethian pronunciation had improved even in the short time since their last meeting. The human must have been studying diligently. She found this dedication impressive. "Let me show you to your quarters," Zalanra said. "Then we can begin the tour of our military facilities." As they walked through the palace corridors, Zalanra was acutely aware of the stares they received. Zorethians from nobles to servants watched with undisguised curiosity as their princess walked alongside a human in apparent casual conversation. It was unprecedented. Kate seemed less affected by the attention, her focus instead on the architecture and design of the palace. "This is beautiful," she commented, gesturing to the arched ceilings that rose nearly 30 feet high. "The way the light plays through those crystal formations is like nothing we have on Earth." Zalanra felt an unexpected pleasure at the human's appreciation. "Those are sun crystals. They are mined from the northern mountains. They absorb light during the day and release it slowly through the night. Our ancestors built this palace before artificial lighting was developed. They reached the guest quarters that had been specially modified for human occupancy. The ceiling was lower, the furniture scaled down, and the environmental controls adjusted to human preferences. The room was located in the diplomatic wing not far from the princess-owned chambers. Another break with tradition, as humans were usually housed in the outer palace. Kate looked around the room, clearly impressed. "This is very generous, Your Highness. Much nicer than what I'm used to on military vessels." Zalanra waved one of her 4 hands dismissively. "It is nothing. I hope it will be comfortable for you. During your stay you will have access to most areas of the palace. Your security clearance has been set at advisory level, which is higher than any human has been granted before. You will report directly to me, bypassing the usual chain of command." Kate raised her eyebrows. A human expression that Zalanra had learned indicated surprise. "That's unusual, isn't it? Won't your military commanders resent having me inserted above them?" Zalanra made a clicking sound that translated roughly to amusement. "They already resent your presence, Liaison Mason. Your position in the hierarchy will make little difference. Besides, I am not just their princess. I am also Supreme Commander of the Imperial Forces. My word is final." Kate nodded thoughtfully. "I appreciate your support, Your Highness, but it might be easier for me to do my job if I don't alienate everyone from the start. Perhaps I could work with your commanders rather than above them. Building trust will be Important Zalanra studied the human with interest. Most advisors would eagerly accept power and status. Yet here was Kate Mason concerned about relationships and cooperation. It was a perspective that Zorethian military rarely considered focused. As they were on strict hierarchy and chain of command, you may be right. Zalanra conceded, I will arrange joint sessions with the command staff. Your insight into human tactics will be valuable to them, whether they appreciate it or not. After allowing Kate time to settle in, they proceeded to the first scheduled tour, the Imperial Military Academy. The massive complex housed thousands of young Zorethians training to become officers in the Empire's forces. The Academy Commandant Drazak, a grizzled veteran with battle scars across two of his forearms, greeted them with rigid formality. Your Highness, he said, bowing deeply. We are honored by your presence. The Academy stands ready for your inspection. His eyes barely flicked toward Kate. His acknowledgement of her presence minimal. Zalanra noticed this slight but chose not to comment on it. Kate would need to earn respect on her own terms. As they toured the training facilities, Kate observed the young Zorethian cadets practicing combat maneuvers. There, multiple arms gave them advantages in close combat, allowing them to wield several weapons simultaneously. Their natural armor provided protection that humans required technology to match. Your fighters are impressive, Kate commented to Commandant Drazak. Their strength and natural abilities give them clear advantages in direct combat. The Commandant seemed surprised by the human's assessment. Almost reluctantly, he engaged. Your species lacks these advantages. How do humans compensate in battle? Kate smiled at the Commandant. We adapt. We use technology, of course, but our greatest strength is adaptability and unpredictability. Humans rarely fight the same way twice. The Commandant made a dismissive gesture. Such unpredictability suggests a lack of discipline. Proper military training establishes optimal tactics for each situation. Kate nodded respectfully. May I demonstrate something, Commandant? With your permission, I would like to spar with one of your advanced cadets. Zalanra watched with interest as the Commandant considered the request. She could tell he was tempted to refuse, but her presence made that difficult. Finally, he nodded. Select any cadet you wish. Human Kate surveyed the training floor where dozens of young Zorethians were practicing combat moves. She pointed to a tall female cadet who had been executing particularly complex maneuvers. That one the Commandant called the cadet over recruit Tezra. Present yourself. The young Zorethian approached and bowed deeply to Zalanra, then less deeply to the Commandant and barely at all to Kate. Her skin pattern showed confidence bordering on arrogance. Tezra was clearly one of the Academy's top students. The Commandant explained, the human wishes to demonstrate combat techniques. You will spar with her practice weapons only. Tezra looked at Kate, her inner eyelids blinking in what Zalanra recognized as amusement. The human was nearly a foot shorter than the cadet and lacked the multiple limbs and natural armor of a Zorethian. The match appeared comically uneven. Kate removed her uniform jacket, revealing a simple black undershirt. She asked for a practice staff, similar to those the cadets were using, though it was designed for 4 arms, not 2. The weapon was nearly as tall as she was. Other cadets gathered around, forming a circle. The Commandant established the rules. First to 3 strikes, or first to yield. The match begins now. Tezra moved immediately, launching a complex attack pattern, using all 4 arms in perfect coordination. Her staff became a blur of motion, attacking from multiple angles simultaneously. It was a standard opening, taught to all Imperial Guards, overwhelming force to end a fight quickly. Kate didn't attempt to block the attacks. Instead, she simply wasn't there when the blows landed. The human moved with astonishing speed and grace, stepping just outside the cadet's reach. Every attack missed by the narrowest margin. The Zorethian cadets murmured in surprise. Zalanra watched fascinated as Kate continued to evade, making the powerful Zorethian cadet appear slow and clumsy. Frustration showed in Tezra's skin patterns as she increased the speed and power of her attacks. After allowing this to continue for several moments, Kate suddenly changed tactics. Instead of retreating, she stepped inside Tezra's guard. The move was so unexpected that the cadet had no time to adjust. Kate tapped her staff lightly against Tezra's midsection. One point to the human announced, the commandant's surprise evident in his voice. Tezra stepped back, reassessing her opponent. Her next attack was more measured, less reliant on overwhelming force, but Kate had already adapted again. This time she used the cadet's own momentum, redirecting. A powerful swing to unbalance Tezra. As the cadet stumbled, Kate tapped her second point. The final exchange happened so quickly that many observers missed it. Tezra launched a desperate attack. Kate dropped to the floor, completely evading the swing, rolled between the cadet's legs, and came up behind her. The third tap came before Tezra could turn around. The training hall fell silent. The match had lasted less than 2 minutes, and the human had won without taking a single hit. Kate handed the practice staff back to an attendant and bowed respectfully to Tezra. "Thank you for the match. You are very skilled." The cadet seemed stunned, unsure how to respond. Eventually, she returned the bow deeper this time. "I would learn from you, human, if you are willing to teach." Kate smiled. "Of course, and perhaps you can teach me as well. Your strength and natural abilities are impressive. I could learn much from Zorethian techniques." Zalanra glanced at the commandant. His expression had changed from dismissive to thoughtful. The princess felt a surge of satisfaction. Kate had earned respect not through force but through skill, and then through graciousness in victory. The remainder of the academy tour proceeded differently. Cadets and instructors approached Kate with questions. The initial hostility had transformed into curiosity. By the time they departed the academy, the human had been invited to return to conduct special training sessions as they walked back toward the palace. Zalanra spoke quietly. "You handled that perfectly. You could have humiliated the cadet. Instead, you created an opportunity for learning." Kate shrugged. "It wasn't about winning, Your Highness. It was about understanding each other. When you face an opponent with different abilities, you both adapt and grow stronger. Your cadets are impressive. They just haven't faced enough diversity in combat styles." Zalanra considered this. "Diversity has not been valued in our military training. We focus on perfecting established techniques rather than adaptation. It has served us well against known enemies, but not against humans." Kate finished. "Not against species that fight differently. That's why the rebels nearly succeeded in capturing you. They used unconventional tactics." Zalanra nodded. The implications were significant. The Zorethian military had grown complacent. Predictable Kate Mason's presence could change that, if the commanders would listen. Over the following weeks, Kate integrated herself into the palace routine. Each day she attended military briefings, offering insights that gradually earned the respect of even the most skeptical commanders. She trained with the royal guards, introducing human tactics that confused and challenged them. In the evenings, she often dined with Zalanra, discussing the differences between their cultures. The princess found herself increasingly drawn to these conversations. Kate spoke of Earth with such passion, describing its varied ecosystems and cultures with vivid detail. She talked about growing up in a place called Montana, with vast open spaces and mountains that seemed to touch the sky. She shared stories of human resilience, creativity, and determination in turn. Zalanra revealed aspects of Zorethian culture rarely shared with outsiders. She explained the complex caste system that had evolved over millennia, the spiritual beliefs centered around ancestral guidance, and the artistic traditions that valued symmetry and mathematical precision. One evening, as they walked through the palace gardens under the light of 3 moons, Kate asked a question that caught Zalanra off guard. "Your Highness, why did you really create this liaison position? Was it truly just to improve military cooperation?" Zalanra felt her inner eyelids flutter, betraying her surprise at the direct question. She considered deflecting with a formal response. But something about the quiet garden and Kate's earnest expression encouraged honesty. "Not entirely," Zalanra admitted. "You showed me something I had not seen before. A different way of being. You challenged my assumptions about humans, about leadership, about my own people. I wanted to understand." Kate nodded. "I thought it might be something like that. The position could have gone to a human diplomat or a military strategist, someone with more rank or experience. But you chose me, Zalanra." gestured with her upper right arm, a sign of acknowledgement. I chose you because you saved my life without hesitation, without calculation. You acted on principle. That is rare in any species. Kate was silent for a moment before responding. I think humans and Zorethians have more in common than either side realizes. We just express our values differently. Before Zalanra could respond, an urgent chime sounded from her communication device. She answered immediately. Drazak appeared, his expression grave. Your Highness, rebel forces have been detected approaching the palace. A large fleet, they have somehow bypassed our outer defenses. We are activating emergency protocols. Zalanra straightened immediately, switching from casual conversation to royal command. Alert all forces. I am returning to the command center. She ended the communication and turned to Kate. We are under attack. The same rebel faction that attempted to capture me before Kate was already moving alongside her. They must have informants within the palace. To bypass the outer defenses, they would need security codes. Zalanra hissed softly, a Zorethian expression of anger. The thought had occurred to me as well. Treason among my own people. They reached the command center minutes later. The large circular room was filled with Zorethian officers monitoring displays and issuing orders. Drazak approached immediately, bowing hastily. The rebels have disabled our main defense grid, he reported. They are using our own security protocols against us. 30 ships approaching from multiple vectors. They will reach the palace in less than 20 minutes. Zalanra assessed the tactical displays. The situation was dire. The palace defenses were designed to withstand external attacks, but with the main grid compromised, they were vulnerable. The rebel force was smaller than the palace guard, but had the advantage of surprise and preparation. Your Highness, Drazak continued, we must evacuate you immediately. The royal shuttle is prepared. Zalanra shook her head. I will not flee while my palace is under attack. Kate stepped forward, studying the tactical displays with intense focus. The rebel approach pattern is familiar, she said. It's similar to what they used during the attack on your shuttle. Your Highness, she pointed to specific ships. Their formation has a weakness here and here. They expect us to respond with standard Zorethian defense protocols. But if we adapt, Kate quickly outlined a counterattack strategy, using tactics that no Zorethian would consider. Separate the defensive forces into small, highly mobile units. Appear, weaken one sector, while concentrating forces for a surprise strike from an unexpected direction. Use the palace's atmospheric fighters in ways they were never designed to operate. The Zorethian commanders listened with increasing interest as Kate explained. Despite their initial skepticism, the plan had merit. It was unorthodox, unpredictable, exactly what the rebels would not expect. Zalanra made her decision. Implement liaison. Mason's strategy immediately. The battle that followed would become legendary in Zorethian military history. The rebels, completely unprepared for human tactics, found their carefully planned attack falling apart. Their formations, designed to counter traditional Zorethian responses, were vulnerable to Kate's unpredictable strategy. From the command center, Zalanra watched as her forces adapted, learning in real time, adopting human flexibility while maintaining Zorethian precision. The combination was devastating. Within an hour, the rebel fleet was in retreat, those ships, not destroyed or captured, fleeing into deep space. In the aftermath, as damage reports came in, Zalanra turned to Kate. The human looked tired but satisfied. We would have lost without you, she said simply. The palace, perhaps the entire royal family, would have fallen. Kate shook her head. You adapted quickly. Your commanders implemented the strategy perfectly. They just needed a different perspective. A different perspective. Zalanra repeated. Yes, I believe that is what the Zorethian Empire has needed. For some time she placed a hand on Kate's shoulder. A gesture she'd learned was meaningful to humans. I would like to make your position permanent, not just as a military liaison, but as a royal advisor, the first human to serve in the imperial court. Kate looked stunned. Your Highness, that would be unprecedented. Zalanra made the Zorethian equivalent of a smile. Many things between our peoples have been unprecedented lately. I believe it is time for more such changes. As word of the battle spread throughout the empire as stories of the human who had twice saved the royal family, circulated among the people, attitudes began to shift. The peace treaty that had been controversial before was now widely supported. The princess, who had struggled to maintain her composure before a human soldier, had found not just an ally but a friend. And perhaps the future would hold even more. The Zorethian Empire, entering its 10,000th year, looked toward a new era, one where strength came not from isolation and superiority but from connection, adaptation, and understanding. As Zalanra watched Kate training young Zorethian cadets in the palace courtyard, she knew that the universe had much to teach them all, if only they were willing to learn.